untying. And so the universe then has no choice. First attribute of the secret place. The secret place is a place of revelation. It makes you free because it awakens you and makes you consciously aware that everything that you thought was holding you is an illusion. Good evening, precious people. Good evening and welcome to Emerge, the movement where we are empowering people on your journey towards spiritual wholeness. We are equipping you and empowering you with all of the tools that you need in order to be able to curate and create an abundant life. Create the life that you want so that you can be the highest, greatest version of yourself. We're invested in helping you to discover your true identity, embrace your divinity, and to begin to live as the divine, infinite, powerful being that you are in this three-dimensional plane of consciousness, a being that walks in dominion and authority, and that's not subject to the ebbs and flows, the turns and twists of life, who recognize that life is not happening to you, but life is happening for you. All things are interconnected, woven, and employed to work together for your good. And so you just have to find the way to elevate your consciousness, raise and expand your perception and perspective, so that even in those most challenging times, you are able to see the good that's being worked in your favor. You can affirm to yourself every single day, everything is working in my favor, as it always has, as it always does, and as it always will do. Everything is working in my favor. Why? Because I am a divine reflection and expression of God. I am an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, and omniactive spirit that is consciously aware of itself, being human, inhabiting this three-dimensional form, existing in this three-dimensional plane of consciousness that we call Earth. I am placed here to learn, to grow, to experience, and to expand as I navigate my journey and walk the path that I have predetermined and predestined with myself, co-creating in eternity past in my pre-incarnate state, that I would enter this iteration of life for the purpose of discovery, experience, and expression. I'm glad that you've chosen to join me tonight as we continue this powerful, insightful, and comprehensive conversation on the nature of being, and tonight continuing to focus on spiritual portals, doors, windows, and gates. We have talked extensively on this subject of portals and doors and windows, and last night we began to explore spiritual gates, and we went pretty in depth and extensively there, but there is still yet more to discuss and further to go. And so tonight we want to continue that part of the conversation and explore even further. Now, I'm going to ask those of you, there's just a handful of us that are on tonight, and that's not our norm. I don't know if people are just late getting here or what else is going on, but those of you who are on, I'm going to ask you to take 30 seconds and just share this live on your page and in every one of the groups that you're a part of on Facebook, and then begin to tag as many people as you can. Some of you have over 5,000 friends on Facebook, some 2 or 3,000, whatever number, but just begin to tag as many of those friends as you possibly can. In doing so, you alert them that we are on the air and they are invited to come over and to tune in as well. Those of you who are watching us on YouTube Live, you can but you can share as well. Hit the share button and you'll get a link to the live broadcast. You can take that link and send it out by text to everyone in your contact list and all of those in your group text. Invite them to come up and be a part of the conversation, to share in this conscious, in-depth discussion to help us to discover the nature of being and just how powerful we are and what is made available to us by the design of the source that is God. God has designed these compartments, rooms, mansions, mechanisms, vehicles for us to be able to expansively experience, express, and explore all the universe, every dimension across the multiverse. Invite them to come and be a part of this great conversation, if you will. I hope you've had a monumental day, that your entire day has been memorable and magic, that you've been creative and productive throughout the entire day, and that it has been rewarding for you as you have made your way throughout your day, learning, giving, sharing, receiving, experiencing, and expressing. And now you've come to this part of the day where you have decided to come and participate in a conversation that prayerfully will empower you, inform you, uplift you, inspire you, and will help you to be the best version of yourself. Now, as I often say, everything that I am teaching you here, I have researched and I have irrefutable facts to back up. However, don't just take what I say at face value or anyone else. I encourage and implore you to do your own research. Study, research, seek it out, dig into it, analyze it, examine it, because anything that is true can stand up under the scrutiny of examination and analysis, and it will still remain true. So I encourage you to do so. I want to give you a little more time to go ahead and tag as many people as you can and to share. Those of you who are doing so, I appreciate you so much. I can see in the comments that there's some of you that are just tagging away. I really appreciate your being so helpful and supportive in what you're doing. While you're doing that, please take note at the bottom of the screen, the message that is there for you to be able to enroll and sign up for the free text notifications so that you don't miss one conversation that we have. It's absolutely free, doesn't cost you anything but time. All you have to do is follow the instructions that are scrolling at the bottom of your screen. texting the word emerge to the number that's there, and you are automatically enrolled. And every time before we come on the air, you'll receive a text to let you know the conversation is about to begin. And you can come and join us and be a part of the conversation. I guarantee you that participating and being a part of this movement will revolutionize your life. It will empower you. I want you to know that the Emerge movement is not a part of any organized religion. We don't ascribe to any of the organized religions, dogma, legalisms, or doctrines, but we ascribe to truth. This is a place for truth seekers. This is a place for those who are open minded enough and courageous enough to ask the important questions, seek the answers, and then question the answers until you have landed upon immutable truth. This is the right place for you. I'm not trying to indoctrinate you. I'm not trying to manipulate you, control you, or recruit you. I am simply trying to empower you with information, insight, revelation, and knowledge. So, with that being said, we're going to move forward with those of you who are here, and maybe others will join us a little bit later on as we get into the conversation. But we're going to move forward and get the conversation going. So, again, we are talking about spiritual portals, spiritual doors, spiritual windows. And last night we left off in the middle of discussing spiritual gates. And we were using the narrative that is found in Revelation, written by John, John the Younger, who was like somewhere around 15 to 17 years old when he initially connected with the ascended Master Jesus. He was the youngest of all of those disciples who had spent that time 3.5 years following and sitting at the feet of Jesus as he mentored them and prepared them for a greater, more expansive mission and work in the earth, because he understood that his purpose would be fulfilled in the 3.5 years after his 30th birthday, that he would spend totally focused on spreading the good news and establishing the kingdom of God in the earth. Establishing, I mean, not actually initiating or building it, but causing people to become consciously aware of the presence of the kingdom, that the kingdom of God does not come with observation, that no one should look here or there to try and find it, because the kingdom of God is within you. And he makes this statement long before there's a crucifixion, before there's a resurrection, before there's a Pentecost. He makes it clear to the disciples. He says, and they record in their writings, that the kingdom of God is, not shall be, but is in you. In other words, he's inferring to them the kingdom of God, which is the authority and the ability to be able to walk in alignment with God, thereby using the laws that govern the spirit world to exercise dominion and authority in the earth. He says to them, this kingdom has always been in you, and you were just not consciously aware of it. So I'm here to tell you that it is not with observation, but that it is right now presently in you. And can I tell those of you who are watching me tonight who may not have heard that statement before, I want to make sure you leave here knowing that the kingdom of God is in you, that you live as a divine being in a human form that has both the authority and the ability to exercise dominion in the earth, that life is and everything in it, the universe and nature, all align themselves with you, that you are the creator of your own life experience. You live in the reality that you create. Let me say that again. It's one of my favorite sayings, and I included it in one of my books, Words to Live By, that you are the creator of your own. You live in the reality of your own creation. You live in the reality of your own creation. There is a spiritual, universal spiritual law that says your outer world of form and experience is a reflection of your inner world of thought and feeling. As above, so below. Are you understanding what I'm saying? That everything that you are experiencing in your outer world is a reflection or a mirror of your own thoughts and feelings, because your thoughts are mental units of energy that are creating, omniactive, constantly creating in the moment, the next moment that you will occupy and you will experience. So if you are the creator of your reality, why not take your time and create magic? Create the kind of life and experience that you really want to have. You get to choose what your lived experience in the earth is going to be. So choose wisely. Choose love and joy and peace and happiness, prosperity, abundance, and wealth. Choose the things that best serve you. By how? By recalibrating, reconstructing, renewing your mind. You are transformed by renewing your mind. And so these conversations that we've been having here recently are centered around that particular theme and idea, to give you the practical tools, vehicles that are necessary, that are helpful to help you to be able to renew your mind, expand your consciousness, raise your vibration, and see things from a larger perspective and perception, so that you can decide, discern, and decipher what best serves you. That you will have the opportunity and the privilege to try everything and then hold on to those things that best serve you. Try everything without the fear of condemnation, without the fear of being rejected or isolated, or making God angry, because God doesn't get angry. Anger is a human emotion. But that you're able to try everything freely, openly, and without fear, and then you get to choose what best serves you and hold on to those things. That's spiritual principle and practice. And so we have learned in this conversation that these spiritual portals, doors, windows, and gates are designed specifically and meticulously to aid us in expanding our experience in this iteration of life, to expand our experience, expand our consciousness, to expand the scope of our perception and perspective by exposing us across the multiverse to other dimensions, life forces, and beings, so that we can understand that we are not the only intelligent life that represents God, but that there is intelligent life across the multiverse and in every dimension outside and within this three-dimensional plane of consciousness. We talked about that a bit when we discussed spiritual portals. We went further as we discussed spiritual doors. Then we began to see how we objectively can observe while standing or being consciously aware of ourselves in one place, being able to observe through the window objectively in another place, and glean knowledge, information, insight, and revelation from that place to be able to use here. And we have used as a template the narrative in the book of Revelation and the entire experience of John as he exercises and uses each one of these vehicles. Spiritual portal is opened up and he steps into it and is transported from one time to another. Transporting being an anthropomorphic term, we understand that, because time is an illusion, but for the sake of continuity in the conversation, he is transported from one time to another, from what he called his present to what we would call future. And he is then, after going into that other dimension, is invited then to enter a door. And a door is opened in the heavens, the higher consciousness in this higher realm. And he is told to come up hither. And immediately he is taken away, the scriptures say, in the spirit. And he enters this door. And when he goes through the door, he looks through several windows and observes objectively events as they unfold. But remember that as he is observing these events unfold, he is looking at events that would not take place for thousands of years beyond his time. Yet he is now observing them and having to articulate and describe them with the first century vocabulary. He only has the vocabulary of his time to describe things that he is seeing in a completely different time, millennia away from him, and try and come up with a way to paint a portrait of what he's seeing. It is why the book of Revelation is riddled and littered with allegorical pictures and paint and illustrations where John refers to things as beasts and animals and other kinds of things, and wormwood and things of this sort coming up out of the ocean, vials being poured out, and other things of this sort, because he is using a first century vocabulary to try and describe what he is seeing in what would take place through a window of what would take place thousands of years beyond the time of his conscious existence. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? And so he goes through the portal, he's called up through the door, he stands at the window, and then he begins to see and give us an analogy of the higher consciousness that that is descriptively called heavens, that we are seated together in heavenly places, that is called the heavens. And he's not talking about a space that is beyond the stars and moon, but he is talking about our higher realm of thinking, of consciousness. It is that place within where our soul rather allows the innate knowing of our spirit to enter and invade, saturate, and inundate, causing us to then begin to recognize not only our presence in the here and now, but our omnipresence. So while we inhabit this form, we still exist in all places at all times. As God inhabits us in form, God is still exists in all places at all times and encompasses the entirety of existence within itself. That is the phenomena and the spirituality, the spiritual truth or fact of omnipresence. Are you understanding what I'm saying? And so he says, I want to describe to you this higher state of consciousness. And he begins to describe it and call it New Jerusalem. He describes it as a city that is 4 square. That's 1,500 by 1,500 by 1,500 by 1,500 miles. That's a huge structure. Okay, but those numbers mean something. We're going to get into that hopefully tonight before we leave. That's 4 square. And then he begins to describe the city having 12 gates, and the 12 gates are named after the 12 tribes of Israel. And we understood that each of those gates were an entrance or a threshold into an area of insight, revelation, knowledge, and knowing that is represented by the names of those 12 tribes. And last night we went through meticulously the entire story of Jacob and those 12 tribes and described what each of those names represented as it relates to those gates of pearl. Remember, pearls represent wisdom, that these gates represent as it relates to revelation, insight, knowledge, and knowing. Tonight, we want to go the next step further. I'm not going to go back and reiterate the gates. If you want to get that information, listen to the replay of last night, and it's all there. I don't want to shortchange those who were here last night and I came back expecting to go further tonight. So tonight we want to finish or go further in the construction of this New Jerusalem, this holy city, or this higher consciousness. The 12 gates represent 12 entrances or thresholds into knowledge, revelation, insight, and knowing that correspond to the name of the 12 tribes that are ascribed to them. But then he goes further to say that this city these gates sit on a foundation. They sit on 12 foundations that are named after or represented by the 12 apostles, which corresponds to the 12 powers of man. or the 12 powers of humanity. That is the 12 powers that are idiosyncratic to divine beings that have become consciously aware of themselves as being human. And so tonight we want to get into those 12 powers, those 12 foundations. The 12 apostles, the foundation upon which the city of the 12 gates sits, equal the 12 powers of mankind or of humanity, or they are the 12 fundamental aspects or faculties that embody our divine nature. Let me say that again. They represent the 12 powers of mankind or humanity, or the 12 fundamental aspects and faculties that embody our divine spiritual nature. Okay? The 12 apostles are Peter, Andrew, James, the son of Zebedee, John, the beloved, Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, Matthew, James, the son of Alphaeus, Simon of Canaan, who would, of course, call Peter, Thaddeus, and Judas. Yes, Judas. Yes. Okay? Those are the 12 apostles. Those 12 apostles correspond to the 12 powers of man, the 12 powers of humanity. So let me take them in order. And I'm going to try and move through these as expeditiously as I can, because I also want to deal with the stones, those 12 stones that are in those 12 foundations. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. I won't say that right now. Okay, I was about to say something just then. Okay, so I want to talk about these 12 powers of men, of mankind, of humanity, these 12 aspects or faculties that embody our divine nature. We are divine beings, and we are in full possession of all the characteristics of divinity of the Holy Spirit, that is God in us, God with us, Emmanuel. Every individual, every part of humanity has access and possession to these powers. Let me say that again. You don't have to be a part of an exclusive group, an exclusive club. You don't have to ascribe to an organized religion to be in possession of these powers and have access to them and to be able to exercise them. You only need the conscious awareness of their existence and an understanding of how to access and to use them for your good. You were born with these powers. You didn't have to earn them. No one has to lay hands on you to get them, put a cloak over you, a towel on your head, or a prayer shawl around your neck. No one has to charge you and knock you over, pour oil on your head, or blow a shofar, or any of the other calisthenics and histrionics that have become such a prominent part of organized religion. You were born gifted, powerful, endowed with spiritual power, authority, and ability. Let me say that again. You were born. You were born. Even before you were born, you were created. Oh, yes. You were created and then born with the endowment of all of these spiritual powers, authority, and ability. You may have walked around with them dormant within you because you were unconscious of their existence, but they have always been a part of you, and you have always had access to them. You just were not conscious of who you were and therefore what you have. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? That probably freed a whole bunch of people right there. That probably freed a whole bunch of you, because there's a number of you who have been convinced throughout your life, your childhood, that you had to ascribe to a particular fear-based organized religion, and then you had to be loyal to a particular person or a particular doctrine or a particular way of modus operandi in order for you to have any level or modicum of power. And you were always made to believe or feel that while you may have access to some, there are other special hand-picked people who have more power than you, more access than you, that are closer to God than you, that know more and are more aligned and more favored by God than you. All of that is a lie. Now said, all of that is a lie. It's a lie. There is no one any closer or more favored by God than you are. We are all equally loved by God. No one has more access than you. They may have more conscious awareness, but you can remedy that simply by exercising the universal key of studying. That's all. Study. Show yourself approved. Workmen that need not be ashamed, rightly discerning, dividing, dissimulating the word, the rhema, the spoken, the intuitive knowledge of God, which is true. No one, not the preacher, not the bishop, not the apostle, not the prophet, not the pastor, not the teacher, not the missionary, not the cardinal, not the pope, not the imam, not the minister, not the honorable, this, that, or the other, not the guru, not the magi. No one. We are all equally loved by God. We all have equal access. We all have the same ability, power, and authority. We are all equal because we are all one. Let me say that again. We are all equal because we are all one. The idea that there are those that are more spiritual, closer to God, more powerful is an illusionary lie perpetrated by religion to manipulate and control its followers. I will say it again with my chest. I don't care who get mad at it. I said the lie that there are those who are more anointed, more powerful, have more access and more authority than anyone else is an absolute damnable lie perpetrated by organized religion in order to manipulate and control its followers. If I can convince you that I am somehow more powerful, have more authority, have greater access to God than you do, then you become my servant and I become your master. Are y'all hearing what I'm? That's the reason why you have these folk running around here doing the stupid stuff, talking about being armor bearers, but this, that, one, and the other, and carrying their briefcase and they're wiping their sweat and changing their shoes and all the other nonsense that goes on in the Christian church. I said it. I don't care who get mad. Nonsense. Because you are somehow convinced that this person is somehow closer and knows and has a better relationship and a higher level of authority in God than you do. But we are all equal because we are all one. Let me say it again. We are all equal because we are all one. We all have the access and we have the capacity, if we are willing to apply ourselves, to enter into these gates by using the key of thanksgiving and the courts by using the key of praise so that we can enter through those gates and walk and stand upon these foundations that we're going to get into right now. These foundations are the undergirding of the gates. The gates are non-functional without the foundation. Let me say it again. The gates are non-functional. They're a non-factor if there is no foundation there. The gates sit upon this foundation, this knowledge, revelation, insight, understanding, knowing sits upon these 12 foundations. And that's why I wanted to make sure you knew what these foundations were and the stones that decorate them, so that you understand that when you are preparing to enter those 12 gates, any of those gates, you are standing on solid foundation, that you have every right and every authority to enter that gate without fear, without apprehension, without trembling, without doubt. You can walk in boldly approach the throne of grace. Are you hearing what I'm saying? You can boldly enter into those places and spaces and explore and experience and expand in your experience in the earth in this iteration of life, because you are standing upon a foundation that fully supports everything that you will access through the gates. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? I had to catch myself. I was about to get caught up and start just rambling off, and I don't want to do that. I want to keep it at a conversational tone because I do want to make sure I incorporate your questions, your comments, your input. So what are these? What is this foundation? These 12 powers, these aspects and faculties that embody our divinity, the characteristics, the nature of our being. They are, let's take them by name, as I named the 12 apostles, and I will give the characteristic or power that corresponds with the name. Okay, hold on. She said, what is the foundation? I just got through explaining that. Let me explain it again. The foundation, this is found in Revelation chapter 21, when John is describing the holy city, Jerusalem. And it's verses 10 through 27. And he describes those gates. And then he says, now there are also under the gates 12 foundations. These are those foundations, again, are the 12 powers of mankind They are the 12 fundamental aspects and faculties or characteristics that embody our divinity. They are the ground upon which we stand. Okay? And so I'm going to go through those 12 foundations as they relate to the 12 apostles. That's what's said in Revelation 21, that those 12 foundations represent those 12 apostles, which represent the 12 powers of men, and these 12 fundamental aspects and faculties of our divinity, or characteristics of our divinity. Peter corresponds with faith. For whatsoever is not of faith is error or sin or missing the mark. Everything is founded on faith, he says. The first foundation is Peter, which is faith. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. That faith is what is, since we walk by faith, and the just shall live by faith. Okay? So faith, what we have embraced and understood as true, emanating from the intuitive voice of God from within, is what informs our faith. The second is James, the son of Zebedee. Remember, there are two James, the son of Alphaeus and the son of Zebedee. James, the son of Zebedee, corresponds with discrimination or judgment, discernment, faith, and then discernment. John corresponds to discernment, judgment, discrimination. To be able to discriminate between, discern between, judge between this or the other. We have immutable discernment. Let me say that again. Even when you may not consciously discern, you intuitively discern. There is never a time that you enter into any situation, circumstance, or relationship not having an intuitive knowing or discerning about it before entering in. Now, you may not listen because you're listening to your intellect and your mind rather than listening to the intuitive movement of your feelings that emanate from your spirit, then expressed through your soul. Something in you keeps telling you something's not right about this. This isn't good. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't fit. This isn't right. This isn't comfortable. But your mind is in conflict with your intuition or your instinct. And so you override your intuition, or you just being silly. Come on, look. And then you follow the logic of your mind rather than listening to the intuitive knowing of your spirit. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Okay. Peter is faith. James is judgment, discrimination, or discernment. Andrew is strength, ability, might, strength. John, of course, is love. John equates to love, the most powerful force in this three-dimensional existence in the universe and across the multiverse is the power of love, because love is God and God is love. Philip equates to power. That word power, as I've said before, is both dunamis, which is ability, and exousia, which is authority. Ability and authority. Okay? Bartholomew is imagination. It's where we imagine and envision. We dream. Everyone has the ability to imagine, to dream, to envision. And without vision, imagination, dream, people begin to decay, spoil, or go bad. Part of our foundation upon which those 12 gates sits is the power of imagination. Because if you're unable to vision it, to see it, to imagine it within your conscious mind, you won't be able to grasp or to comprehend it. Okay? Thomas represents understanding. Okay? Thomas represents understanding. Understanding, not just knowing, but understanding. Understanding, knowing says what? Understanding says how. Let me say that again. Knowing ascribes to what? Understanding says how it works, how it functions, how it's applied, what's practical. Okay? Matthew corresponds to our will. Our will is the seat of our determination. Our will is the seat of our determination. It's our intentionality, our deliberateness. When we set our intention, we set it with our will. And so as you enter these gates of revelation, knowledge, insight, and knowing, you enter with a deliberate intentionality of accessing, receiving, retaining, and then regurgitating to others that you come in contact with. James, the son of Alphaeus, corresponds to order, harmony, alignment. There is a law of harmony, a law of balance, a law of alignment. So this is not that you are stepping through these gates and grabbing information haphazardly, but as you receive it, retain it, it begins to align itself with you as you align with it, creating a perfect harmonial balance between that knowing and yourself. Okay? Simon or Peter, Simon, not Peter, but Simon, Simeon, equates to zeal, enthusiasm. There is a text in Romans that says, my heart's desire and prayer for Israel is that they might be soteria, saved, rescued from an impending doom. For I bear them record, listen to what he says, that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. Every time I read that text, I always look at it in the reverse as well. It is tragic to have a zeal of God, but not based upon knowing knowledge or having a clarity of knowledge and understanding. But it is equally tragic to have a knowledge and not have any enthusiastic zeal behind it. You know, but you're apathetic about it. You know, but it's like, okay. Yeah, I know, but you know, and anytime you follow I know with but, Are you hearing what I'm saying? Then you are diminishing your enthusiasm. You are diminishing your zeal and that fire necessary to pursue and to act, to set an intention and then pursue it. It's not enough just to set the intention, but to have that hunger and thirst that motivates you. Those who hunger and thirst shall be filled. The flip side of that is those who lack a hunger or thirst, lack zeal, lack an enthusiasm, shall not be filled. So the key to the filling, the overflowing, is you having the enthusiasm, the zeal, the tenacity, the excitement to pursue and go after, to knock and keep on knocking, ask and keep on asking, seek and keep on seeking. Okay? All right. Hold on. I see a question here. Are the 12 gates in any way connected to the zodiac signs? No, they are not. That's something totally different. We're talking about those are constellations. Are these equivalent to the 12? Okay, are the 12 gates, are the 12 apostles equated to the zodiac signs? No. Those are constellations. That's a whole nother lesson. That's a whole nother lesson. They are not to be discounted. Those constellations are very important. Okay, but no, these gates and the apostles don't correspond to those things. Good question. Very good question. Very good question. Who did I leave off with? Simon. So Thaddeus corresponds with renunciation and elimination. It is that ability to detach. Now, why is this important? Because as you enter through these gates of revelation, insight, understanding, and knowing, you have to be willing to divorce what you thought you knew in exchange for the knowing that you'll be exposed to. If you are so married to a particular idea, concept, dogma, legalism, ideology, then instead of gleaning and becoming consciously aware and knowing, you'll be trying to find a way to combat what you're being faced with and to disprove and disbelieve it. But the power of Thaddeus is the power to renounce and to eliminate, to detach and to relinquish what has served you for the moment, but now you have evolved and graduated to something further, deeper, and greater. It does not make what you had before bad. It doesn't make it harmful. It's simply understanding it has run its course and it no longer serves me. I have now graduated to a higher realm of thinking, a higher consciousness, a higher vibration. And so what served me before and how it serves me no longer. If you are not willing to detach, then you cannot grasp what's in front of you. Forgetting those things which are behind me and reaching for those things which are before me. I press by releasing and then reaching. Are you understanding what I'm saying? And then finally, Judas, which equates to life conservation. Life conservation. preserving your life. Isn't it interesting? Preserving your life infers that it's not speaking about your spiritual life, because that is eternal, but your three-dimensional form, that is the temple or the dwelling place of the Spirit of God, that power to preserve life by taking care of this temple. Yes, isn't it interesting that it encompasses the whole man, the totality of humanity, these 12 powers. That last power is solely focused on the responsibility, the awesome, holy responsibility to care for the dwelling place in the temple, so that it may sustain life for as long as necessary for the soul and spirit to fully experience and express itself in this iteration. Okay? This question right here will open a can of worms, but I said whatever question you ask, I'm going to answer it. There is really no evidence that Judas committed suicide. There is an account, two different accounts in the what's called four gospels, that actually contradict each other about what happened with Judas. One says that he hung himself and fell down and his guts burst out. Okay. Another said that he died another way at another time. One was after he had taken the silver and thrown it at the feet of the Roman soldiers and leadership. The other says that he went and bought a field with it and called it Potiphar's field. The truth is, in his own account, because there is a Gospel of Judas. Yes, look it up. There is a Gospel of Judas. In his own account of his own life, he makes no mention of being in this kind of despair or depression. As a matter of fact, it appears from his account that what he did with the support and the agreement of Jesus. That he and Jesus agreed to what he would do, which makes sense because every soul is sent into the earth to fulfill specific purposes. And if Jesus was to die, Judas's purpose was to give him up, to betray him. And without Judas, there's no crucifixion. So there is no infallible, substantial proof that the accounts given in those gospels are accurate. Do the research on your own. Check it out for yourself. I guarantee you'll come to the same conclusion. And that again opens up a whole nother can of worms about the authenticity of those gospels altogether. Because you remember that I taught you before that these gospels were not written during the time of Jesus. They were written some 30, 40, and as much as 90 years later. And some of them, like Mark and Matthew, were written by people who never met Jesus in person. but they were only writing from the oral tradition of the stories that had been handed down to them through different generations. And their accounts were not the only accounts. There was a gospel of Judas, a gospel of Elizabeth, a gospel of Mary, that the Roman church, who were who were behind the canonization of the scriptures that we call the Holy Bible now, decidedly and intentionally left out several other sacred writings that were written around the same time, firsthand accounts of people who actually knew Jesus, and they decided to leave them out completely because they did not fit the narrative that the Catholic Church was trying to promote. Now, I know that might be a little more than what some of you are ready to swallow or deal with, but it's the absolute truth. Again, you can research it for yourself. I guarantee you, you will find that everything that I'm saying to you is true. Every bit of it. That's just a fact. Okay. Okay. You clearly you missed the first teaching about portals, because portals give us access to what we call the past as well as the future. Absolutely. Take us into different times and spaces. Go back and listen to the first replay of this teaching, where I talk comprehensively about portals and what they give us access to. But yes, they definitely not windows, gates, and doors, but portals are what give us access to different time, spaces, and dimensions. Good question. Good question, though. I'm looking to see if there are any other questions. Doesn't appear to be. How am I doing on time? I'm over an hour now, so I'm going to stop. And then tomorrow I will deal with the 12 stones, types of stones that decorate those 12 foundations, because those are very important as well. Okay? These 12 stones are very, very important. And the fact that they decorate, or they are a part of the foundation. They are a part of the let me say that again. They are a part of the fundamental aspects and faculties that embody our divinity. They are a part of our characteristics of the characteristics of our divinity. Okay, the foundation of the things that we just named. But these stones decorate that foundation. They are scattered about on that foundation, therefore being a part of that foundation, useful to us as we prepare to walk through these 12 gates and to go through portals or doors or windows. Okay? These things are very important that we are knowledgeable of. So I will deal with those 12 stones on tomorrow night, um, when we meet together for Momentum at 8 p.m. Make sure that you're here. If you haven't done so already, make sure you sign up for the free text notifications so that you will know when we're getting ready to come on the air. Now, listen, we were kind of scarce tonight. So when we come back tomorrow night, I want you to come and join me, but I also want you to not come alone. I want you to intentionally work to invite at least two others to be a part of the conversation, not just when I tell you to tag and share, but to actively recruit them to come and be a part of the conversation and to participate and be with us on tomorrow night. Let's see if we can double or triple our numbers tomorrow night um, as we go into this conversation. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bernadette, for what you just said. Uh, this live, I think she meant to say this live was informative. Thank you for this blessed word. Have a good night and blessed and continued week, everyone, to all of you. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now, don't leave just yet. Don't leave without taking advantage of the opportunity and the privilege to sow and to give. Everybody. Now I put this plea out of not a plea. I put this introduced this opportunity at the end of every live, and when we first began the Emerge movement, um, when I would do this, there would be at least 6, 7, 8, 9 of you that would sow or give something. Now we've gotten to the place where there might be one, or in some and sometimes two, but that the contributions and support and giving has slacked off. Now, as I said last night, I believe you invest in what you value, and so when I see that you begin to uh, slack concerning investing or supporting, it makes me question whether what I'm introducing or giving to you is something that you value. Okay. Um, you get to determine that and tell me whether you value it or not. And as I've said, I've never set a price or tried to pressure anyone to do anything to say, well, I need 7 people to give $100 and 3 people to give $50 and this many people. Never. I've simply said to give and be supportive of the work at whatever level you choose to do so. Some of you have partnered, and so you agreed that you would tithe as you are able to do so. There are others of you who, you tune in every week or every time that we're on, but you either never or rarely give anything, whatever amount it is, whether it's $10,000 or 10 cents. Actively demonstrate the value of the work of the teaching by giving something. Show that you value it and that you appreciate it. That's all I'm asking you to do. That's all I'm asking you to do. You can use any of the means that are on your screen right now. As you know already, that you know this by now, you can use our Cashapp, Zelle, or PayPal to give and support what we are doing here with the Emerge movement. Every gift, no matter how large or small, is gratefully appreciated. Thank you for your generosity, and I thank you for your support. Thank you very, very much. Take a moment and do it right now before you walk away from the screen or put your phone down, because then you'll get busy doing something else and forget about it. Take a moment right now and give. Whether it's 10,000, 1,000, 5,000, 100, 500, a dollar, 25 cent, 10 cent, a penny, a nickel. But do something. Do something to demonstrate your appreciation for what you are receiving. All right. Thank you so much tonight. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Please make sure that you are tuned in, that you have pencil and paper, that you're ready to take notes. If you've missed the other teachings that preceded this one on this topic, go back and listen to the replays so you can get caught up and be up to date with the rest of us. replay it as much as you need to, because you want to make sure that you get all the goodness and the juices out of it. And take as many notes as you see fit. My inbox is always open, so is my email. If you have any questions at any time, please send them to me. Oh, but while I'm saying that, let me say that, if you are sending me a question by way of inbox or email, or sending me a dream that you want me to interpret, or asking me about any other thing that you want my insight or counsel concerning, please be patient with me. I get on average 20 to 30 different inboxes almost every day or every other day with questions and dreams that people want me to interpret. And I'm getting to you as fast as I possibly can. I'm only one person, and I have to go to work every day just like you do. So I have to go to work, and then after getting off work, make the time to be able to try and answer as many of you as I possibly can, and to do it comprehensively, to give you a comprehensive answer, not a shorthand answer. So please be patient. I haven't forgotten you. I know that you're there, and I am definitely going to get to your particular concern in time. Just be patient, okay? All right. Have a great night, and I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow night.
Thank you for tuning in. And be sure to catch us every Sunday at 7 p.m. for empowerment.
That we are a unique expression.
Every Thursday at 7 p.m. for momentum.
The creation of God and the God who created him.
Once again, be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. And we'll see you next time.